Kent France's first wife. This woman is very important. The woman that he married before Lori, in my opinion, is one of the more compelling characters in this story because she's very powerful, she's very connected, and she has quite a peculiar background. And ultimately, her life, despite the fact that she married Kent first, is going to plug right into Erika's life. This woman's name she died 2 years ago, Dr. Jerry Francevay. Look at Dr. Jerry Francevay. I'm going to tell you about Dr. Jerry Francevay. She keeps her name. She also dies in Arizona. Everybody's in Arizona. You would have no idea that these people were exes, and they seem to get along quite well. They keep doing business together. Well, Dr. Jerry was born Jerry Pitts in 1943. She was born into a very strict Mormon household. Yeah, fun fact, Erika's father was at first married to a Mormon before he got together with Lori. Jerry's Mormon family is from Arizona, a very powerful Mormon family, but she herself was raised in Indianapolis, Indiana. Jerry also happens to be a victim of child rape. Okay. Now she's going to tell the story in a different way. She's almost going to, when she retells the story, make it sound like a love story. It's weird to me. I don't think a person should be trying to normalize child rape, or if they do, they probably shouldn't hold any future positions of power over children. Wouldn't you agree? Well, I'll let Jerry
Definitely
tell it.
agree
Let's
with
read a bit
that.
of this article from 1981 where she recounts her own history. It tells us that at 14, she ran away from a strict Mormon upbringing in Indianapolis to get married. She says, quote, I was a straight A student and was about to get the worst mark of my life, a C in algebra, Francevay said in an interview. I couldn't face my parents. I loved my boyfriend. We saw an opportunity and we took it. I lied about my age. I altered my birth certificate. I then smeared it with Clarisol to make it look older. 6 months later, we asked to come home and we were welcomed. She was a mother before her peers graduated high school and divorced before she was old enough to vote. Okay, so just to recap, she gets married at 14. Not mentioned is the fact that she's already pregnant. Okay. She then runs away for 6 months to the other side of Indianapolis, uses Claricel so she can get married at 14, has this little shotgun wedding. She gets married to a guy named Carl Pangirl. Carl Pangirl, spelled Pangerl, is 5 or 6 years her senior. I can't really tell. Look, she's already telling us she's forging docs, so he could be 5 or 6 years her senior. And just so you know, he's going to go on to become a bishop in the Mormon church because marrying a child is apparently not a disqualifier. In fact, she tells us her parents welcome them back into the home. Okay. Okay, I guess. Let's keep going. They divorce, and then Jerry somehow becomes a bookkeeper. She gets into accounting. So it doesn't matter that she got knocked up at 14, that she's married and divorced before she turns 18. She's still somehow able to just get a good job and begin a career. She becomes a bookie. She learns clerical machines. And I would love to know who exactly it was that she was bookkeeping for, because I think it probably was somebody pretty important, because Jerry then suddenly marries some top brass in the military. Her second husband, and we're not going to get it, just going to give the facts about him. He's a man named Kenneth Himsel, and he's a captain in the Indiana National Guard. He goes on to become a general, a major general. They get hitched in 1965. Jerry's now got connections. She gets a bachelor's degree in psychology. That same year, psychology is what she is about to become an expert. That's going to be her career path in. She just gets psychology, particularly the psychology of children. It's now 1970. She's 27, and she becomes a social worker in Indiana. And instantly in my mind, and I get it, I'm a conspiracy theorist, but I pretty obsessed with MK Ultra. I don't love
MK or conspiracy theorist was just created by our CIA. It was a term created to make us feel dumb for asking the right questions. So if you're a conspiracy theorist, that just means you're smart. You're a free thinker. You know how to think for yourself.
anybody that was a psychologist in the 70s, especially one that's connected to the military, especially someone that's connected to the military in Indiana who happens to be a victim of child rape herself. I'm not loving it. A lot of red flags here. It's immediately suspicious because MK Ultra was in full swing, and if you did not know, Indiana was a major hub for MK Ultra action. The universities in Indiana were factually involved in experimentation. In fact, Indiana was actually the place that the government manufactured the LSD to drug people with for their experiments. You can thank Indiana for the hippies movement. Thank you, Indiana. Anyway, suddenly Jerry's big time. Okay. In 1971, she heads out to Chicago and she begins working for Quaker Oats for 3 years. Now, if you're like me, I was like, well, at least Quaker Oats, we know, hired a psychologist for what? She says she was helping them with marketing. What kind of marketing? Okay, the official story, like, I don't know, help us sell these oats. And if you're like me, I was literally thinking in my head, well, at least Quaker Oats was never involved in any weird MK Ultra type experimentation or anything. Except for that one time when Quaker Oats was actually going into mental institutions and force feeding a bunch of radioactive oats to little boys.
What?
Look at this article.
How is this company like even still standing? That is disgusting. Quaker Oats paired up to conduct experiments on unsuspected young boys.
This is our government. A spoonful of sugar helps the radioactive oatmeal go down. Yes, Quaker Oats was conducting experiments on unsuspecting young boys. Yeah, I don't know what to say. Anyway, the Atomic Energy Commission teamed up with Quaker Oats to experiment on children. Now, how long did that go on for? Did Jerry Franzfey herself play a part in any experimentation
Never ended
on children with
That's my
Quaker
opinion.
Oats? Was this even related to MK Ultra? We're never going to know any of those answers. Put it out of your mind, because in 1975, the military orders the destruction of all of the files related to MK Ultra. So what we have today, which is already terrifying, is just a skeleton
That's
of just
scary.
how far reaching that CIA program was. But I can say confidently, I've always believed that MK Ultra was tasked with creating Manchurian candidates. I believe a lot of people in politics today went through weird psychology programs. It's my personal opinion. This is my podcast. I am entitled to it. Jerry meets and marries Kent Franzfey, jumping back into her timeline. Okay, she meets and marries Kent Franzfey while she's working for Quaker Oats. And she's a few years older than him. She continues to climb the ranks as a psychologist, gets a master's degree, a doctorate. Now she's going by Dr. Franzfey. And her and Kent Franzfey moved down to Paradise Valley, Arizona, before deciding to divorce. Okay, supposed to believe that, okay, well, they're divorced, never going to see each other again. Maybe. Should know that once she becomes a doctor, she has arrived. She is now going to work for the biggest and most powerful families in the world. Okay, this is where it's going to get really fun, because she begins working for, I mean, not even just one of the most powerful families in the world, but it also happens to be a French family. France. I could never do a series where you're not there, France. The DuPonts.
They're always involved somehow.
I kid you not. She starts working for the DuPont family, becoming the director of employee relations for DuPont, because she's so good at psychology. She gets into organizational psychology. She is tasked effectively, I would say, with finding the psychopaths that should head up the corporations that are run by the elite bloodlines. She goes into partnership working for the DuPonts. Now, in case you forgot, they're also just mass poisoning people. That's what they've done for a very long time. If the lawsuits are telling us anything about, they have innumerable lawsuits related to them poisoning the population, giving people cancer. Jerry's apparently a good fit. In 1983, DuPont completes the largest merger in corporate history with Conoco Oil, and they're able to do this thanks to Reagan and George Bush being in office, deregulating things, making it easier for private corporations.
The Bushes, they are terrible. They will be remembered as top 3 worst presidents in our country's history. I would say the past 30 years, we really haven't had anyone good. They've been very good at dividing us and playing both sides and keeping us divided. But I think Today, especially, not just in America, but worldwide, we are more united than ever. We're starting to realize that they make it so we stay divided and staying instead of uniting by propaganda, by big media, by the talking points they continue to use on us. It doesn't work anymore.
To go in and do bigger deals. Of course, we know DuPont then moves those headquarters to Wilmington, Delaware. I just loved looking into her and just seeing that she's the DuPont woman, because I like to pause and reflect on past episodes when I don't know why everybody's freaking out about things. And I just like to consider how terrified they must have been when I'm looking into the Charlie Egyptian plains and I'm like, what's going on in Wilmington, Delaware? And I instantly hit the DuPont family. And then Erika's out there nervously at AmFest cracking like not funny jokes about Egyptian planes. She's like, no, nobody in Egyptian planes are here. Tell you something, her jokes are going to become less and less funny as we get deeper into this series. Back to Dr. Jerry. She is then somehow awarded an entire clinic, research center, pardon me, at Radford University in 1983, a gender clinic of all things. She's a feminist, and she's awarded a gender clinic. And they begin giving lessons to the military. My question is on what? Gender? Why do we need a research facility? Oh, I know why. The reason, and so you need to understand how the world works. The reason why companies might be interested in having people that will come up with BS research for them is because government and corporations have to produce completely fictitious academic reports and studies to justify this.
I'm so glad she's speaking about this because I've been talking about this for some time. Any administration, regardless of side, when it comes to the stats, the data, whatever the crap, wherever they get their made up sources from, never trust them, because if they're willing to lie about one thing, you should question everything. That's just how I think. If like, why trust them on other topics if they're going to lie to you about other things? It makes absolutely no sense. So yeah, they've misconstrued all of the data to try to make our side believe them, when in reality they have no clue. They have no clue at all.
Psychopathic things that they're doing to us worldwide. Okay, you got to have the experts. You got to have the psychopathic experts that will produce the reports so that people in power can just unilaterally force things across the population, like the COVID vaccine. Oh, well, Dr. So-and-so, oh, Dr. Franz Fay maybe says that if you don't get the vaccine, it's because you're a psychopath. If you don't line up and get the shot, it's because you're crazy and she's an expert. That sort of a thing, just giving you an example. She wasn't involved in the COVID.
They're just paid puppets. They're mouthpieces to try to convince you to take something that they know isn't good for you. And they knew all along before they even put it out that it wasn't good for you.
Good thing, to my knowledge, but that's the purpose, right? And Dr. Jerry Franzfay becomes that sort of an expert with ties to the most powerful families in America and France. She also, by the way, happens to be a total and complete fraud. I am confident that Jerry Franzfay is a fraud. Okay. Fraud, capital F, fraud. How do I know? Look no further than this report that came out of Radford University that Jerry Franzfay produces pertaining to Native Americans and the Appalachian Mountain. I'm just going to show you the cover of this report really quickly. So it says that who's putting together this report? The Center for Gender Studies, and it lists 5 names: Marjorie Wayland, George Bourne, Richard Castor, Susan Friedman, Jerry Franzfay. Well, not what she doesn't communicate in this report is that that's her family. Marjorie Wayland is her mom. Richard Castor is her nephew, her sister's son. This is why they just get married so much, because, and I didn't even look into the other two. I just couldn't, once I realized that the 2 of these people were her family and they're going to produce a report, I just went, oh, she's like a whole fraud. That's just effectively Mormon mafia, right? We've done a report. I guess we can go into Native American. They need feminism or something. We can go right onto the reservation. These women want to be free, something like that. But I want you to sear that into your mind. Mormons conducting research, students conducting research. Again, this is a background episode, but that's going to become very relevant as we examine Erika Kirk's ties to Eastern Europe, because Jerry Franzfay gets involved in Eastern Europe, especially in Eastern Europe. What is going on, by the way, with all these Mormon missions? Tyler Boyer, I'm kind of speaking to you, my friend. I know about your time in Romania. I've got the receipts. Now, we'll dig into that. But the reason that I wanted to give you the background of Jerry Franzway is because after this, heading into the 90s, the next thing she does in life is she gets involved with charter schools. She gets into the charter school business, particularly helping them to develop psychological methods with students. Yeah, you know where this is going. Dr. Jerry Franzway is going to be the person that helps develop the Tesseract way. Tesseract schools, the school that Erika went to that is exceedingly problematic.
I cannot wait to see what else she exposes in these upcoming days. And all the hate she is receiving, I welcome it. I think it just shows that these people are paid puppets because she's not really doing anything. She's not wishing harm or ill will on people. She's just calling out the bullshit and lies, and there should be nothing wrong with that. That's just my opinion. Curious what you guys think. And now, part two. $10 million missing from Turning Point Action, and Erika Kirk casually lying again.
You know, easily the most important relationship, and again, I don't want to get ahead of myself, so we're going to get into this tomorrow, but the most important relationship that Erika had at Turning Point USA is Tyler Boyer. You will recall that when I sat down with her, and I want to let you know that ahead of today's episode and yesterday, one of the questions that we keep asking that we can't get an answer is how does Erika Kirk know Tyler Boyer? She couldn't recall that in person. We can't get an answer. That seems to be something that she doesn't want to answer, right? But Tyler's a very significant person because he introduced her to Charlie. He set that up, right? Not a good guy, Tyler Boyer. And there was a rumor, which I will tell you what Turning Point's response was, but and it was stronger than a rumor. It was somebody very much in Charlie's life who said, had reached out to me and said that Charlie told this individual that he was establishing Doge because $10 million was missing. Okay.
That's another reason they took him out. He disagreed with the $150 million, I believe it was, donation from Israel to be pushing Israel propaganda. And then because he wanted to do an audit. And that's not allowed because once you audit, you find out exactly where your money is coming from, which donors are paying what and what for. And they couldn't have that. So they offed him. And as we know, the last upcoming days before he was sadly executed, he was questioning the whole Israel-Gaza conflict, as he should, because we know Netanyahu was involved. There was a stand-down order. There was also an election that was canceled due to that attack. It was a setup the whole time from the Israeli government.
Heard that. I went to Justin Strife when there was communication between us two, the COO, and I specifically asked about that. I said, I heard this, and this person definitely knows Charlie, he knows Erika. And, you know, is there any truth to this? They said, no, that's not true. Well, fast forward to today, and they've fired a lot of people, and, you know, a lot of people are speaking. And somebody who was within Turning Point USA confirmed to me that money was indeed missing out of Turning Point USA. I can back that up 100%, which is why I'm saying it publicly, that there were millions missing out of Turning Point USA. And they were wondering where that money was going. And they specifically said that the money was missing out of Turning Point Action, which is headed up by Tyler Boyer. The reason why I'm bringing that up and the reason why it's coming to my mind is because Tyler Boyer has a relationship with Lori. And Lori was put on the board of what's that company, whatever it's called, that collects data and nobody really kind of knows what it does. Was it like AZ Tech or something like that? And I remember when I was sitting with Erika, she kind of brought this up and she's like, a lot of people want to know why my mother was put on that board, but it was just because we needed a familiar name. That's what she said. Lori was put on the board.
I can't wait till she actually digs fully into her and her family's past in regards to their connections to the Israeli government and RCIA. Ooh, that's going to be exciting.
Because they needed a familiar name. I guess there's just not enough billionaires that donate to Turning Point USA for them to have put someone other than Lori, who we are told is very sick, by the way, and is very sick. But they put her on the board of that company. It makes me wonder if that is true, and also why Justin Strife has a different version of events than somebody else at the company regarding whether or not money was missing. There's a lot there that I feel needs to come out. I do not believe for a single second their version of events, that Charlie established Doge 7 days before he died because he just wanted to feel like Elon Musk and use an expression. I don't buy that for even 1 second. So I do want to say that. And there is something casual about the way that Erika lies, and how she lies about her background, how she lies about whether or not she's had boyfriends, didn't date for 5 years. That's not true. It's almost like she glitches and she doesn't remember. And there's an element of that that to me feels like information is being downloaded, like she's remembering things and can't quite remember it. And I'm going to show you this clip because tomorrow we're obviously going to get into her pageant days and how she meets Tyler Boyer and the connections in Romania. But I do want to show you this clip of her just kind of lying very casually about how she got into the pageant world. This is her discussing that back in 2020. Take a listen.
Was it after that? That's when you started pageants, or when did that come about?
Right. So the pageant world to me is something that it was an interesting season of life. It was nothing that I was ever groomed for. It was nothing that was ever on my radar. I wanted to play professional basketball.
Tomboy.
That was my thing ever since I was 5. Like that was I wanted to play, and that was all I wanted to do. I was a gym rat, for lack of a better term. And I remember getting something in the mail when I had come home from school one summer, and it was like, hey, you should compete at Miss Arizona USA. Someone nominated you. And I was like, I don't know who would nominate me for that, but okay. So I shared it with my mom, and I was reviewing all the different things that you have to go through. And I thought to myself, if I were to ever win this, the most important thing out of it would be to be able to make a difference with the title. Nice. I don't care about the photo shoots. I just want to be able to overbook myself, being able to get involved with the local communities, with the local organizations that are actually making a difference. So the pageant world for me was something that was not a form of narcissism. It was more along the terms of being a steward for my state, especially as it hit our 100th year celebration.
Yeah, that's not right. That's not true. Erika has been involved in pageants from the very beginning. Her mother is definitely the person who pushed that. I actually do believe that Erika loves basketball. There's no question she plays basketball. But this idea that she didn't want it is just not true. It's so objectively not true. Erika, without question, and anybody who's being objective and honest and looking at her history of the people that she dated and the people that she wanted to be in close proximity to, can guarantee to you that this girl wanted to be famous, like very badly wanted to be famous one way or the other.
It's very obvious at this
point. Ahead of ourselves. Obviously, we unpacked a lot, but I just wanted to introduce you to Dr. Jerry Franzfey and that Tesseract School. And tomorrow we're going to really jump into Erika's pageant years and when she kind of, I would say, hits the map.
Man, oh man, can I not wait for that. I don't trust her at all. I don't trust Turning Point. I don't trust anyone involved with Turning Point. It's sad what they've turned it into. Everything that Charlie Kirk pushed and didn't want involved with his company, they now have involved with that company. Man, oh man, oh man. I cannot wait to see what else is exposed. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'll see you on the next video. Have a blessed night. Peace out.